Hey guys, check it out! My new Triumph Scrambler. And after owning it for 2 weeks, here's what I love, and perhaps more importantly for you, hate about this Triumph Scrambler. Alright, so as is the way, and you'll understand if you live up north, the second you get a new bike, that's the second when the snowstorms come rolling in. So I've had this bike for 2 weeks, but we've had nothing but snowstorms. So I haven't ridden it a lot, but I have ridden it enough to get to know the bike. So let's start with the things that I love about it, and then we'll talk about the things that I don't love about it. First and foremost, this is one sexy motorcycle. I mean, the second I saw it, I knew I had to have it. I fell in love with it. Just look at this tank. I love this dual, let's call it British racing green, matte and gloss finish on the tank. The brown seat, the way that engine just is this big black metal chunk of steel. The way that the pipes on this side come around are almost artistic in the way that they're crafted, and the way that they come around, the way that they slope in over here, the way that they curve in actually over here for your legs, and of course the way that they're up high as a Scrambler should be. This bike is the kind of bike when you walk away from it, you just can't help but turn around and look back at it, and it makes you feel good because you know that you own this thing. I love this parallel twin 1200cc power plant. It's got gobs of torque, 89 horsepower, 81 pound-foot of torque. There is torque through the entire power band. It's paired to a very smooth 6-speed transmission, and best of all, when you get on the power, it sounds phenomenal. Now Triumph builds 3 Scramblers. There's the 900cc Street Scrambler, then of course there's the XC, which is this one, and then there's the more off-road worthy XE. Now this one, I kind of think it's the Goldilocks of the 3. With a 33-inch seat height, it's perfect for me. It weighs about 450 pounds dry, which is heavy, but nevertheless, it's manageable, especially for a guy who's 6'2", both on and off-road. The equipment on this bike is top shelf. You're looking at dual Brembos, 320 millimeters, 4 pistons. Really hauls the bike down in an emergency or just putting around the street. You've got fully adjustable 45 millimeter in diameter Showas that of course are inverted and provide enough suspension travel that you feel like it's a very comfortable ride on road and not too crazy bumpy off-road. In the back you've got one 255 millimeter Brembo dual piston. What is it? Not dual piston. It's in the back you've got a 255 millimeter Brembo dual piston say it again.
255 millimeter disc with a Brembo 2-piston caliper.
Okay. In the back, you've got a 255 millimeter Brembo disc with a. I'm having a hard time with that. 255 millimeter Brembo disc, dual caliper. How about just that?
Dual piston caliper.
Yeah. In the back, you've got a 255 millimeter Brembo disc with a dual piston caliper, with a dual caliper.
Dual piston caliper.
With a dual piston caliper. Why? Just keep rolling. Why am I having such a hard time with that? But more importantly, maybe you've got these 7.9-inch Öhlins that are completely adjustable. I love that click. It peels and sounds really precise. I really love this TFT. Super easy, very bright, so you can see it in the daytime, and you can pick from 2 different configurations, and then you can of course customize those configurations. You also have a whole bunch of different drive modes, from wet to sport to road to off-road. I also love the fact that you've got right here cruise control, super simple to use. Just hit the button and you're stuck at whatever speed you push that button at. In terms of tires, you've got kind of these half off-roady Metzlers. The really cool part about it, if you come over here, you can see that they've kept them tubeless because the spokes now come out actually on the side of the rim. That's a pretty clever engineering solution for a pretty beefy semi-off-road worthy tire. I've only owned one British bike, and that hasn't been a Triumph. I've always kind of lusted after a Bonneville, but a couple of years ago I did buy a BSA Thunderbolt from 1968, and the issue with that was, well, it had points, which was, problematic. Anytime it rained or any moisture got in the air, the bike wouldn't want to start. But more importantly, since the brakes and the shifting were switched, an emergency stop consisted of me downshifting one gear, which is not ideal. Finally, I do love this little feature, and I do love the remote key. When you push this button, this little radio signal icon lights up and lets you know how much battery you have left, which is pretty cool. These are the things that I don't love about the bike. So let's start with this, which is where you put your phone. It goes in right there, which, I guess is great if you want to keep your title and your phone dry, but not so grand if you actually ever want to get to your phone. The other foible, I guess you'd call it, about this bike is that when you let it sit for a while and you first turn it on, you get the reserve engine light and no gas. The bike somehow forgets that it's got, now a half a tank, and you have to ride it for a couple of miles before it figures out how much gas is in the bike. Kind of weird. What I really don't like about it is the price. It's $14,000. That's a lot of money. I mean, it's not a touring bike. It's not really a crazy sport bike. It's kind of an around the town semi-dirt bike. But I guess if you want that Steve McQueen style, and you want all that Triumph iconic history, $14K is what you're going to pay. And finally, two other small issues I have with the bike is, while the fuel tank is beautiful, it holds 4.2 gallons, which gives you a range of anywhere from 120 to 150 miles. That's okay. I guess if you're touring on this bike, you might be on the wrong bike. And also this, right here, this reservoir for the brake fluid. I mean, that's, look at that. That looks like a $2 part. It's plastic instead of being made of any kind of steel, or better yet, billet aluminum. I'm gonna have to switch that out because that looks like something that will break if I ever drop the bike. And if that breaks, I ain't going anywhere. Oh, there's one more thing I really love about it. A couple months ago, I reviewed the Triumph Speed Twin, and I said in that review, I just wouldn't feel, comfortable is not the right word, maybe proud enough to park it next to a Harley because I would end up with like chrome envy. Now this bike, I think, at least in my opinion, will hold its own next to any Harley, Ducati. Well, pick the bike manufacturer of your choice. It's that good looking. So there's some good news and there's some bad news. Mostly good news. The bad news is we've got another snowstorm rolling in, so I won't be able to ride it. But the good news is I can finally get some new gear because, well, let's face it, I look like a British motorcycle policeman in this stuff, and it's really from my adventure biking days. So now I get to go to our partners at Revzilla, and I get to get a new helmet, I get to get a much cooler jacket, so hopefully I could not, well, be as cool as a Scrambler, but at least look as cool. Thanks for watching, and remember, check out TFLbike.com for the latest and greatest in everything motorcycle and bike. See you next time. Ciao.